Hey guys, this is Aditya and welcome to our channel and welcome Farad to our channel. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you, Sadiq. Thank you for having me. I'm very good. How are you doing?
Awesome, doing really well. And today it's a bit different from our conventional videos that we usually do. So today we'll focus on one of the most historic events, not only for Indian cricket, not only from an Indian cricket, not only from a sporting perspective, but for world cricket as a whole. Because the incident or the instance which we are rather talking about is one of the most pivotal and one of the most inspiring events that we have seen, at least I have seen from a sports lover and from an individual perspective. So without discussing further on this specific perspective, I would ask Farhad and rather discuss with Farhad that what are we about to discuss. So Farhad, can you just tell from our side?
We are actually going to be discussing a new documentary which is there on Sony Live, which is called Down Underdogs, uh, which is based on India's triumph over Australia in that famous Test series, and marks 1 year, one first anniversary of that as well. And a detailed review for that you can find on my website, Popcorn Reviews. Sadiq, you can leave the link in the description. And I think it was a memorable series in more ways than one. Which while growing up, Sadiq, you must have also seen that famous Eden Gardens Test, India versus Australia, in
Yes,
which
I totally remember that 2001 when Lakshman and Dravid played a miraculous knock. That was probably the greatest test match I've seen in my life.
absolutely, hands down. And so that was, while we were kids, and we were watching in awe,
Yeah.
which Dravid and Lakshman actually, and India was again one down in the series against even Australian team, which had won at that point 16 consecutive test matches in a row.
Yes, I
16
remember.
consecutive test matches.
I remember.
And they had already won one in Mumbai, and in Kolkata, we were down and out, following on the verge of defeat when day four, Dravid and Lakshman played that historic knock, and they did not get out on day four at all. They played the entire day, and
Yes.
India eventually won the test match and later on the series. So similarly, a similar feat did happen, but this was spaced out in the form of the entire series,
Yeah.
in which India was touring Australia. It was in Australia at this time last year in 2021, and there were many obstacles, Sadik. So, do you remember what obstacles we had while, entering the series? There were experts that were saying, 4-0 is
Yeah.
going to be a whitewash. So, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
So my personal thoughts that are, you can say, a journal thought from not only a sports viewer perspective or from a cricketing perspective. So what my thoughts were initially when the tour started. So I thought that Australia are really good at home because they have some really good fast bowlers that can take wickets with ease. Specifically when you see Stark and many others, Cummins, Hazelwood, whatever they are. And apart from that, India has not always, but they do struggle on pitches which are, you can say, good for fast bowlers, and specifically pitches like Perth, pitches like, you can say, Brisbane, which are suitable for fast bowlers, even Melbourne. So this was a cause for concern. So only a few pitches like, you can say Sydney was the most suitable for India, which was suitable, and apart from that, which could have created a suitable scenario for them to win. But what happened in that series was totally unthinkable, at least for me as a viewer, because I never thought that they can pull around with that. So, discussing on this perspective, I would ask you regarding the first test. I mean, which was famous for, which was rather infamous, that India got all out for 36 in the fourth innings, and I mean, people like, whoa! I mean, they
Third
went
inning.
bonkers. Yeah, sorry, third innings, and people were like bonkers, and what has gone? I mean, I mean, myself, I mean, was like, whoa, what has happened? So, what's your view on that?
So, Before that, just to set a little context, our captain and our best batsman of the team, Virat Kohli, uh, he actually was to return to India for the birth of his first child, Vamika.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, so he was only available for the first test, which was a day-night test, and he unfortunately got run out. India were bowled out for 244. Second innings, I think Australia, the Indian bowlers bowled really well and restricted them to 190 or 191, I think.
yeah,
Then came the infamous third day, in which India were ahead on the third day. At
yeah,
the start of the day, if you're leading by around 60 odd, then you have the game in your pocket. You just need to build on that.
yeah,
Even if you scored another 150, 200, you would be in that game with that bowling lineup that we had.
yeah,
But that was the day in which I think there was luck against us also. I think, and Australia bowlers were bowling beautifully. Give credit where due. So all the balls that were being pitched up, they were taking the outside edge. So besides, I think Kohli and probably Saha, all
yeah,
of them, got nicked behind and caught in the slips.
yeah.
And what happened was the India got bowled out for 36. And on top of that, Shami got injured. He broke his wrist. So we lost a fast bowler also while batting. So, of course, Australia, lapped home. They had a target of 90 odd, and they ramped home with 8 wickets in hand. And that was the time when everyone, I think, even the hardcore Indian fan also would think that, oh, this is trouble. With the captain going back, a best batsman going back, even the cricket experts, analysts, all of them were saying maybe whitewash, 4-0 Australia. So that I think it was just a bad memory of that. I remember it was a Sunday in which we had got bowled out, and before I could wake up on that Sunday, we
Ah,
were already seven down. I was like,
yeah,
are they showing some old highlights? But they were clearly not.
yes,
So yeah, that was that test match, and we were in trouble in that first test. Um,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
pressure was on India. And earlier, let me tell you, this was India's lowest test total also, beating 42 and
I remember.
42, I think. Yeah, so 42, it took a very long time for us to come out of that. Many losses followed after that before again we could rise. So there was skepticism that will this team just go down, after 36? What worse can you get? But then, what are your memories like?
So I
I'm sure
remember.
many memes that were made also.
Yes, yes, yes. And being a Pakistani, because it was flooded, because we Indians and Pakistanis, we are much more, at least from a Pakistani perspective, and I at times apologize that we
No, no, no.
Pakistanis
We
at
also apologize.
yeah, because we Pakistani at times are not really happy when we win, but we get happy when India loses. So this is an unfortunate perspective, or unfortunate scenario that we have. So I do remember that Shoaib Akhtar immediately posted a video when India got all out for 36. And I don't know why that he was looking very happy. And even Wasim Akram, I think, posted a video or something. I do remember that on Facebook or whatever it was. I'm not sure it was on YouTube, but on Twitter or whatever it is, he posted something. And Shoaib Akhtar, oh my God, I mean, his expressions and all. I mean, what he was doing. So the only thing that I still remember after this year was his his expressions and how he was I mean being a cricketer himself. So he was rather shocked. I think that he never expected India to be bowled out with such ease. I mean when they were leading. So
But
he
Shoaib Akhtar, let me also just interrupt you, saying that Shoaib Akhtar also has supported Indian cricket, and I
yeah.
think he was the one who had predicted the fourth test result
Yes,
later
yes, yes,
on.
yes, 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 exactly, exactly. So he did. So that's why I think he was quite shocked that, and he may have thought that India at least would have fought, but they were, bowled out with ease. So that was my memory. So again, coming to the second test. So what was your thoughts, or
So
what was your analysis on that?
the second test was the Boxing Day test, which
Yeah,
is traditionally held at Melbourne. And Melbourne, if you know, is the most intimidating ground because it has the largest capacity,
yeah,
almost equivalent. I think it has some 80,000 odd spectators that all are cheering. So Australia had won the toss and they had elected to bat. And I think that is where Australia lost a trick. They should have put India in, because coming, from that 36 all-out knock to getting into the field first day of the Boxing Day test would have made that impact, but they
True.
did not. And as usual, the Indian bowlers were, you know, uh, immediately on point. Indian bowlers have been exceptional, in the past 4 5 years, I would say. When
Ah,
the batting also wasn't doing well, it is the bowlers who were, pulling us out, and helping India win. And that was again one instance. I think Siraj was making his debut, and very impressive debut. Siraj had lost his father before the series, and he could not go back because of the COVID protocol. So this was like a poetic moment for him to make it count. And before that, he had a couple of years prior to that, he had already debuted for India in T20s, in which he was slaughtered. And
yeah.
there were many memes that were made on him, and it was a perfect fairy tale. But then only thing was that his father was not there to see him play Test cricket, and it was a memorable debut for him. I remember him. Getting that wicket of David Warner wasn't in the second test. It was, I think, Marcus Harris or somebody. It was Matthew Wade. It was somebody. He had got out with that lovely outswinger to a left-hander. So that was, an important wicket. He got Labuschagne, I think, while flicking on the leg side. And so what happened was the Australia got bowled out for 195. They did not score 200 again. India again into bat. Uh, by the way, Rohit Sharma also wasn't there. He was to join India in the third test, from the third test. He would be available third and fourth. So we already had opening. We had some two, three changes that were there. Prithvi Shaw was dropped. Rishabh Pant was brought back. Shami, of course, because he'd broken his wrist. So Siraj made the debut in place of him. India again were tottering at 62 for 3,
Right.
which is when the captain, who is unfortunate, it's an unfortunate, end, I would say,
No.
Ajinkya Rani, he made a exceptional 100, in that test match to resurrect India. And very calm and collected, but very aggressive in his mindset as well, like Kohli. He did not show his emotions, but very aggressive in his mindset. Led from the front, got India to a good score, 320 odd, and then the bowlers again ate into the Australia batting. And India was just left for 70 odd to chase, which we did pretty easily. So India bounced back and, equal the series 1-1 in that Melbourne test.
Coming to that next test, which was the third test. So, what are your views on that?
So third test, again, it was Australia who were batting.
Yeah.
Steve Smith was out of runs before that, but Steve Smith got 100 in that Sydney Test match, first innings. India, while in the first innings, again there was a batting order collapse, and we gave a lead of around 90 odd. I think it was around 90 runs, 90 odd runs. And second innings again there was a leather hunt. Yeah, there were few balls here and there, but then I think it was Cameron Green and yeah, against Steve Smith, I think, who really again put a target, I think, of 407, I think, a daunting 407 at the SCG. And India had to bat last. And India were going along pretty well until end of day four, little prior to the end stumps. Rohit Sharma, after getting a 50, tried to flick one and got caught at fine leg. So India were left with around 300 and 7 odd runs to get on the final day with 8 wickets in hand. Coming into day five, India lose Rane 4 overs into the day. So very early on, Rane was out. And then came master stroke. Everyone was expecting Vihari at 5, but Rishabh Pant was sent in. And Rishabh Pant and Pujara were at the crease, I remember, and they were chalk and cheese. One was stoic, defending, gritty, and the other was taking on the attack. I mean, Nathan Lyon, who was turning the ball square, he took on took in stepped out and started counter attacking, and at one point it seemed that we were actually going for the target, which it seemed like an unlikely victory, but then Rishabh Pant got out 3 short of 197 pe, and soon I think Pujara was also out, but before that, when Bihari came in, he had strained his hamstring, so he pulled a muscle, and it was a grade 2 tear that we came to know later on. And India were 5 down. Before that, in the first innings, Jadeja also hit on the his bowling hand on his thumb, so he had fractured his thumb also, so he was not slated to bat, although he was ready to bat, but he was advised not to bat. So India were effectively left with Vihari, Ashwin, Jadeja, and then the bowlers to follow in the final session with 5 wickets in hand. And then came that famous partnership between Vihari and Ashwin, where they blocked everything. Ashwin was also having an injury on the back, and he was not sitting. He said that I won't sit, otherwise I'll not be able to get up. So he was standing all the while, and then he came into bat. He copped a few blows, on his back and on his hand. Vihari couldn't stretch. So they had made a pact, that Ashwin would play the spinners and Vihari would play the fast bowlers, and they kept on, toying away with the attack, not taking singles, just blocking everything. And then, there was this famous sledge between Ashwin and Tim Payne, where Tim Payne said, "I can't wait to get you to Gabba." So Ashwin had retorted saying that, "I can't wait to get you to India, which will be our last series." So that was the sledging that was there, famous sledging. And India managed to escape with a draw and unscattered at 1-1 going into Brisbane. So this draw seemed like a win, but then there was a bigger headache. Everyone was getting injured. So there wasn't many players left.
Now coming to the fourth test.
So then it was the famous fourth test at Brisbane, and Australia at that point were unbeaten at Brisbane for 32
Exactly,
years. They had not
exactly,
lost a test match for 32
exactly,
years, and that was how long we have been alive.
exactly. That because we were born in 89.
Yeah, we were born 89, and West Indies had beaten Australia for the last time in 88. That was the Brisbane test
The
in
great
88.
the great West Indies team, the great
The great
bowlers.
West Indies team, yeah. The great West Indies team, which had Viv Richards and everyone.
Ambrose, Walsh,
So,
and others.
Ambrose, uh, that was the great West Indian team that had defeated Australia in Brisbane, and that was the last time. And India had never beaten Australia at Brisbane ever.
Yeah.
India, in fact, it was a strategy of Australia to normally give Brisbane or Perth, matches so that, they can walk over teams. And Brisbane traditionally is known for bounce. So
Yes.
what? So if I could get into little technicalities, the opposition, what they do when they see a little bounce, they try to bowl short.
Yeah.
Or what Australia bowlers do, they pick it up. So they get bounce while you're defending. So that is where they take the bait, the visiting teams. And India, to top it, did not have Ashwin, did not have, of course, did not have Vihari, did not have Bumrah. He was also injured. Umesh Yadav was in there. Jadeja was in there. So basically, there were all new people that were there in the bowling, especially. Siraj, who had made his debut 2 matches back, was the leader of the attack. Then he had Navdeep Saini. Then a net bowler, Natarajan, was making his test match debut. Net bowler Washington Sundar was making his test match debut. And
Yeah.
Washington Sundar, it is said that was not expected to play, right? He
Yeah.
did not have pads, the ones while you wear while batting. He did not have that. So they had to go shopping to buy those white pads because none of his teammates' pads could fit him because he was tall, very tall. The story goes that they had to go shopping for him specifically for that,
Oh.
and he hadn't played first class matches also. Washington Sundar.
Oh.
So this was his first, and India preferred him over Kuldeep Yadav. Kuldeep
Yes.
was in the squad, but he preferred him because he could bat.
Yeah.
So India were up against Australia bowlers who had more than 1,000 wickets among them, and India had only 13 wickets among them, out of which 2 were of Rohit Sharma, who had returned, by the way, in the third Test match.
Yes.
So Uh, India in the first innings again were timely dismissing, but then Labuschagne got 100. I remember it was a brilliant 100 by Labuschagne, and Matthew Wade I think was batting well, but then the partnership was broken by Natarajan. Eventually, karte karte, Australia made 369
Yeah.
first innings.
Yeah.
India, after a good start, again Rohit made a 50, I think, but squandered it.
Yeah.
And India again had a mini collapse and were 180 odd for six, and staring at a deficit. We could have been 200 all out, and that was the match there. You couldn't take concede a lead of 170 in Brisbane and win it. That
Yeah.
is when I think Washington Sundar and Shardul Thakur joined hands, and it was a memorable counter attack. I remember Shardul Thakur was batting like he had such a strong foundation while batting. His childhood coach, I think, I must salute this childhood coach. Even though he's a bowler, Shardul Thakur, who was also, by the way, as good as making a debut. He had played a test match earlier in India where he had bowled only 10 balls and got injured. So this was virtually his first Test match, and he had taken wickets in the first innings. And Matthew Wade, I think he had taken. And while batting, oh, it was a joy. And Washington Sundar was matching him stroke to stroke, and Australia did not have answers to that. So India, at the end of the first innings, conceded only a lead of around 30 odd. And then the bowlers came back in. Again, we were a little low. Australia got to a very good start in the second innings, but the pressure was on Australia to go for a win because India had earlier retained the Border Gavaskar Trophy when India had beaten them last time when India were in Australia, when Kohli was the captain and Steve Smith and Warner were banned. So India had the cup, and so if it was a draw, India would still have retained the Border Gavaskar. So it was up to Australia, and the onus was on Australia to go for the win. And in doing so, they collapsed for 270 odd. Siraj poetically took 5 wickets. Shardul Thakur took 4 wickets, and there was a question asked to Shardul Thakur, that did you regret not taking that wicket? He said, no, Siraj deserved it. He's gone through a lot, and I will take it later on, and I'm very happy for my teammate. So that was the team spirit that was there, in that dressing room. Everyone was like a family. Even if your hand was cut, you fight with the other hand. Even if you're injured, you still give everything. They were like band of brothers that were there, and the entire unit was like one. uh, Come to bat final day, all four results possible, and also on top of that, to add to drama, forecast was of rain
Mm.
on that final Brisbane day. And again, we lost Rohit very early on, and Pujara and Shubman Gill, young Turk Shubman Gill, uh, consolidated. I remember getting up very early that day. It was a working day for me. It was a Tuesday, I think, and I got up very early and what started watching from like 7 o'clock or something after the first session. Over, it was little bit of the end of the first session that I started, and it was like after that I thought, yeah, what is the score? Let's just check the score first, and it was only one down by lunch. And then the counter attack started, with Shubman just going after. It was a brilliant, brilliant counter attack by Shubman Gill. Fearless, absolutely fearless. Unfortunately, got out for 91. Then
Yeah.
came that little innings from Rane where, intent was there. He just made 24, but of only 22 balls. It included a six of Nathan Lyon. Then again came Rishabh Pant, and Rishabh Pant and Pujara again started mowing down the bowlers. And India needed 140 odd in the last session and about 100 when Pujara got out. And that was the time in which he thought, okay, should we just put the shutters down? No, not quite. I think we should just go for the win. This time it'll be special. So Mayank Agarwal and and at one point it seemed when after Mayank got out that really we are losing. We may lose this one because Rishabh Pant just got to his 50 though, and there were couple of maiden overs or just very 1 or 2 runs that were there, and in 7 odd overs we needed around 50 something runs, and that is when Washington Sundar joined Rishabh Pant, and he said, "Macha, let's go for the win." So Macha in Tamil means dude, let's go for the win, brother, let's go for the win. And he played the shot of the match for me. He pulled Pat Cummins over fine leg for a six, and that was a statement. And then they just went after the bowlers. In 3 odd overs, we just made like 30 odd runs straight away. And then Washington Sundar got out, but then Rishabh Pant was still there. Then Shardul Thakur got out, and it was drama. There's 7 wickets down, and then that famous stroke down the ground, and they were hustling between wickets, only to realize that it had reached the boundary. So that is the famous Gabba win. The Gabba fort was breached that day, and Rishabh Pant, who was dropped prior to the series, was dropped in all formats, had made a comeback and made a statement. I think he was the man of the match and the man of the series, if I remember correctly. And then I also remember in the presentation, I think Nathan Lyon was playing his 100th Test match or something, and he was stranded on 399 wickets, by the way. And Rahane and the entire team had signed and given him a memento as a mark of respect. And Justin Langer was saying that you never underestimate a country who has a billion people, but can definitely churn out 11 of the best to play against us. So that was his famous. And I had tears. I cried like for good 15-20 minutes after India had won, because this brought back memories of that Eden, which had started the episode with Eden Gardens. So it had many pleasant memories of that. And it was such a great victory. I feel turnarounds started happening after that. West Indies beat Bangladesh in Bangladesh by chasing 400 odd, with I think one of their players, Bonner, I think on his Test match debut, scoring 210 not out. And then Ireland beating West Indies in the ODI series recently. Bangladesh beating New Zealand in New Zealand, which is unheard of. Pakistan beating India in a T20 World Cup. So these turnarounds are happening again, and Ireland beating
West
South
Indies,
Africa.
South
They
Africa.
drew
So
the series and all.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
yes,
these turnarounds are happening. And I remember Pakistan also brilliantly beating Bangladesh on that deciding final day. Rain affected Test
yeah,
match recently, second
yeah.
Test match. So these are happening. These turnarounds are happening, and I'm so glad that world cricket would improve only from here.
It has to.
And coming back to that, it is that undying spirit that is there, to not give up till the very end. Don't care who the opposition is. We are, कहते हैं ना, अपनी किस्मत अपने हाथ में है, and हम लास्ट तक ट्राई करेंगे. So that is that.
Very
So
true.
I think this entire episode is covered in the documentary called Down Underdogs, which is on Sony Live. I request all of you to uh, watch that documentary, and if you like a detailed review also of that, you can visit my site Popcorn Reviews. And Sadik, what are your memories? I've been blabbering for a very long time now.
Yeah, so for me, to be very honest, as I said that for was what I was thinking specifically for the fourth test. So to be very honest, I was thinking that it would be a very tough and competitive game, and it could have gone anywhere. I'm not saying that India could have won or Australia could have won. It could have gone anywhere, because I don't think anyone was favorite, because pressure was on both sides and it was equal. And what India had performed in the second and third test match, in the manner in which they had fought back, so I think Australia were on their toes, and they were a bit scared, and it was reflected in the fourth test. So
I think you're
and
fatigued also. You're
yes,
tired.
yes, yes,
Mentally.
yes, exactly. They were tired also, and I think what India had the advantage now, that these things, you can say they are blessing in disguise. When you have young players, inexperienced players, they are hungry. They want to cement their place in the team at any cost. They can do anything for
Hmm.
that. So, and that's what they did. They were like, fearless tigers, that had nothing to lose. And this is one of the main reasons why they were so good, and they were so enthusiastic. It was evident in the fourth test that it didn't look that they were really playing test cricket, because
Absolutely.
it was like, young kids that have nothing to lose, and they will just enjoy. They
It
just
was a
want,
B team.
yeah,
Let's be honest. It was a B team.
and they just wanted to enjoy, and they wanted to make sure that they are able to enjoy this, and they did not wanted to stress it, you know
Yeah.
and this is what I liked, and this is the
Hmm.
enthusiasm you should have when you play anything, when you play sport, or when you are involved in anything. And if you are, give your absolute best in anything, then obviously you have to succeed, and you do. So it was all about that passion, that enthusiasm, and which I really liked about that. So yeah, I mean, this is my memory for that. And I think, I think we have done quite a lot and covered quite a lot for this series. So and again, I'm really happy that such a documentary was made, and it did reflect, not from a cricketing perspective but from an individual perspective, that you should fight hard, and you have to be on your toes. So that's it from my side, and I think it's almost a wrap up from our side. So again, thanks again, Farad, for being here, and thanks you to all you guys that have been regularly visiting us and watching our channel, and thank you so much for that. And I would request you to please, I would also put in the description Farad's review of this series. I mean, the documentary that we just watched. The description will be there in the comments in that title section. So please check it out, and please do check Farad's website, Popcorn Reviews. And this is what I would like to request. So, guys, thank you
Remember
again.
to
Yeah,
remember to like, share, and subscribe the
yeah,
channel.
yeah.
And
Thanks, thanks everyone, and that's it from us. And so, goodbye. Take care.